Oh, yoo-hoo! Gun guys! You know how you like the military so much? Well, here's a military guy that I think you really need to listen to.
And I may get in trouble with other members of the committee, just say, how insane it is that in the United States of America, a civilian can go out and buy a semi-automatic assault rifle like an AR-15.
Do you hear that, gun guys? He's a military guy, which means he should know about all sorts of guns and stuff, so you really need to agree with him. Except, here's what's missing. So, who was Dean Winslow, and why should we care about what he has to say about our right to keep and bear arms? Well, this Canadian paper mentions that he was a U.S. colonel. Well, surely that means he's got a lot to say about guns, right? Well, keep watching and judge for yourself. Was he a Marine colonel? An Army colonel? Air Force. And not even full-time Air Force, if you look at his curriculum vitae, which is available through Stanford's website. He was part-time Air National Guard. But wait a minute, he told the Washington Post that he deployed 6 times and that he was qualified as an expert on the M9 pistol and the M16 rifle. Well, I'm really happy that he's able to hit a target with a pistol out at 25 yards and able to hit targets out at 300 yards with his service rifle. However, there were some things that he said during this confirmation hearing that made me question whether or not he really knew much about the AR-15 type of rifles, period. For example, he said that they were not really that accurate out to 100 yards or beyond 100 yards. Really? That was done at 175 yards. And with my own AR-15 rifles, I hit steel consistently out at 200 yards. So, yeah, he probably doesn't know a whole lot about the platform, which is entirely possible. You can use something and not really know much about it. But still, it kind of shows that he's not as much of an expert as gun control propagandists tried to prop him up as. Now, I would chalk up this relative ignorance of the full capabilities of the AR platform due to the fact that he did not spend a whole lot of trigger time while he was deployed. No, he served as a flight surgeon, which is to say he was a doctor for Air Force personnel, which means that whenever he was deployed way, way, way back from the front whenever he was deployed. And this would explain the relative lack of combat-related awards that are on his ribbon panel. With the exception of one, there is this Air Force Combat Action Medal, which is on the 3rd row of his little panel right there. But you're able to get that if you're fired at. In other words, whenever he's speaking his mind about weapons, he's not speaking as a warrior, but rather he is speaking as something that my veteran friends, those that have actually seen combat action, derisively call a POG, which is short for person other than grunt. Or they might use an even more colorful term called a REMF, which is a rear echelon mother. Or he could be referred to something else like a nunner or a fobbit, both of which refer to people who do not function in a direct combat capacity. But people with slightly better memories might ask me a question like, well, what about Stanley McChrystal? I mean, he was very familiar with the M4 and M16 rifle platform, and he didn't have some very complimentary things to say about civilian ownership of those.
I spent a career carrying typically either an M16 and then later an M4 carbine. And an M4 carbine fires a .223 caliber round, which is 5.56 millimeter, at about 3,000 feet per second. When it hits a human body, the effects are devastating. It's designed to do that. And that's what our soldiers ought to carry. I personally don't think there's any need for that kind of weaponry on the streets, and particularly around the schools in America.
To which I would say, I respect the man a lot. I respect the fact that he had a pretty good knowledge of the M4 and M16 platform, and he did some amazing things against insurgents. But the fact still remains that the environment that he operated in is far different from the environment that we as citizens in this country operate in. There is a big difference between being part of a military occupying force in hostile territory and peaceable citizens exercising their rights responsibly in a peacetime environment. And in the former situation, wanting to control others' access to arms makes tactical sense, but that has no place within a free society, in peacetime to boot. It really should be the end of the argument right then and there. However, we can expect anti-gun propagandists to continue to trot out their veteran of the day, whether it was McChrystal yesterday, Winslow today, or whoever it might be tomorrow, all the while ignoring the plethora of pro-gun veterans who return from combat duty or wherever and continue to uphold our Second Amendment rights. People like Dave Bray of Madison Rising, or Article 15's Matt Best, or Black Rifle Coffee's Evan Hafer, all these people who support our Second Amendment rights or use portions of their profits and proceeds to uphold veteran law enforcement and gun rights organizations. Or people like Reed Heinrichs of Valor Ridge, or E.J. Owens of Legally Concealed. People who want to take the knowledge that they have gained from their years of serving in the military in order to teach us civilians how to more effectively use our weapons and thus more safely use our weapons. Or the multitudes of just regular, ordinary people who have served and are living what seem to be regular and ordinary lives. And there's nothing unordinary about upholding your Second Amendment rights. And so here's to you, our veterans who cherish our rights enough to defend them and enough to come home and exercise them peaceably. And this is the last video of 2017. I want to thank everybody who has watched the videos, who has shared them, and who's commented on them, just for your time and your input. I want to thank especially the veterans who gave so much to this particular video in terms of their input and their insights. Thank you very much for your thoughts. And for everyone else, I want to wish you guys a happy, safe, and blessed 2018. Shoot straight, shoot safely, and remember that truth is never gun control's ally. And for those who still like to engage in Russian conspiracy theories, na zdorovia.